What's up, motherfuckers? Javokhir Sindarov is the new world champion of the World Cup, the new World Cup champion. So congratulations to Sindarov and his family, his second, who is Madaminov. And yeah, congratulations to Sindarov, and I'm going to show us the decisive game who helped him to win the World Cup against Weiji in the tiebreak. The first three games ends in a draw at the two classicals and the first rapid. So this game was decisive. Okay, Sindaros goes with the black pieces and we opens with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, e3, and here Sindarov, instead of develop the bishop to c5, he decides to develop the bishop to e7, sword castle, knight c3, d6, a4, and now black decides to trade the light square bishop for the knight to win some tempos with the knight, because after takes and 94, black wins like 2 tempos against the queen, c6 and 96. Now, okay, white have the bishop pair, but black have improved so much his knight to e6, rook e1, queen c7, bishop e3, b6, good move, defending the e7 pawn, who can develop the rook, queen f3, rook a8. In this position, there are one game between Sindarov with white pieces against Samuel Sankland of the last Grand Swiss. And now YG make a little bit strange move. Not strange, but that's untimely a little bit. Because h4 here have the problem of now h5 and the knight is coming to g4. Also slightly better to play rook a1 first. If black develops the rook to e8, now we can play h4. The idea is that after h5, now we can take on e6 and the rook is bad place on e8. So this tempo is going to be important. So that's okay. H4, H5 could be a good response, but Sindarov played queen d7, who is fine too, improving the queen. Now a5, I really like this move, attacking this diagonal, putting pressure there. I really like a5 here. By the way, he played queen h3. h6 here was normal, by the way, rook e8 was normal too. Bishop e6, good move. Now it's time to take here because the rook is on e8 bad place. So now the rook should return to f8, losing a tempo to be good place it. F takes, and now he tries to improve the knight with knight e2. Okay, it's not a bad move, but knight b1 was slightly better, going to f3 instead of go to g3. By the way, knight e2 is completely normal, of course, and now very good reaction in the center of Sindarov with b5. I like this move. Yes, with black here, you should just break here and try to win more space. Knight g3, rook f8, again good move, placing the rook in open fight. h5, and now again good move of Sindarov h6, stopping h6, because now white is threatening h6, winning the space, so h6, good move, rook e2. Here, he double rooks into the file, who of course is completely normal. The machines prefer a little bit to play bishop d6 and queen f7, but okay, rook f7 followed by rook d f8 is completely normal. Here, knight f1 was stronger by YG, trying to go to g4 with the knight trading these knights. Okay, rook a1 played by YG, bishop d6, bishop d2, rook d8, bishop c3. And here Sindarov make a mistake because he played d4, closing the position, and now the machine say that the position is it's equal. When I was in the game, I still think that black is better here because now black have a plan of take as much space as possible in the queen side. But the machine really like this move, knight h7, coming with knight g5, using the fact that now the bishop is not defending g5. So we cannot take here because now we have 95 intermezzo move. Now the queen is like more or less trapped here. So, and now that you cannot take on e5 because the f4 pawn, f2 pawn is hanging, sorry. So the best white move will return to e2. And now we can just improve the bishop c5. Knight h1, very good move, defending f2. And now we can take on an a5 or just play king h8, and black is really, really good. Very good, sorry. But I really like the move knight h7 because you are threatening knight g5 and you are open the f for your rooks. Instead of that, Sindarov decides to close the position with d4, and now he's coming with a queenside pawn attack, queenside, yes, pawn expansion, sorry, with c5, threatening c4, so he defended, and now he played a6. His idea is just play b5 and c4. Knight f1, YG tries to improve the knight, queen e8, rook a1, rook a7, knight g3, queen c8, knight f1. YG is just waiting what Sindarov is going to do. And now finally, the position of G typically is equal, but okay, I suppose that Sindarov felt that he have more space and he just want to try to win, and he played b5. The machine say that okay, this move benefits white and that white is slightly better, but I think that b5 is interesting if you want to try to win. If you want the draw, no, okay, of course. If you want to make a draw, you can just keep the queen e8 and the position is going to be a draw because white cannot progress. But b5 is an interesting try to win the game. And knight a2, good move by YG. c4, black just follow his plan, takes, and knight g4 by YG, and Sindarov still taking space with c3, knight f6, rook f6. And now the machine say that the position is equal. But of course, the pawn on c3 is annoying, of course. Bishop e1, rook f7, coming with rook e8 and entering the white side, rook e7. And here YG play rook d1, who looks so strange. Looks more natural, just trade one rook, and with only one rook, I think that black is not going to put so much troubles into white position because okay, you can enter with with one rook, but if you want to gain with the queen now, your king is going to be so exposed. So I don't think what black can make progress here and attack the white king without leave the defense of his own king. Or rook b1 here was playable covering the b5. But rook d1, it's true that if Sindarov some initiative, rook a2, bishop h4. Here, queen e8 was better according to the machine. By the way, he played rook b7. He tried a little bit to enter here with the rook, but just the rook on c1 defends everything. And like I told, the position is equal because black have no way to progress. But here, instead, he just goes back here or something. But he played rook b7, who is an inaccuracy, because this passive move allows f4. Really good move of Wei activating his pieces. He takes, and now he plays e5, which is not the best. But he can play g takes f4, rook b2, rook f2, rook e1, bishop d3, and white is active here with his pawn on e4 and e4. So, but okay, when he plays e5, who can looks like a good move. I'm not going to criticize e5 because the problem of e5 is bishop takes e5 with an equal position, with not anything is clear. Rook e5, rook c2, and now doubling rooks into the 7th rank. But okay, this position is equal, so that's anything clear. Black have 3 pawns for the piece and active pieces. And g takes f4 was the other possibility. Instead of take the piece, try to play active with white. But okay, Sindarov doesn't show anything clear, and he keep the bishop with bishop c5, rook f4 and queen e8, playing more passive. Rook f2. Here he played rook e1. Rook b1 here looks, I'm not going to say, yes, it's more active, but you are leaving this, yes, that the rook on b7 is defending the black king, so rook a1 who looks more logical, but okay, rook b1 was the better move according to the machine. Rook f7, queen e8. The idea is give this diagonal to the queen. The other idea of rook b7. And okay, but this position is close to be equal. But white is putting some pressure. Rook a1 played by Sindarov. She's coming with rook b1, doubling in the A rank. Queen f3, rook bb1, queen e4, king g8, and here mistake of YG. He should play queen g6, very annoying move. After takes, black king have more troubles than the white king. And the position, okay, can be, yeah, black can hold because now the bishop is defending f8, but the g6 pawn is so annoying and black is in some troubles. But d4 very bad move because you are open so much your king. Rook h1, very good move by Sindarov. Now, okay, I think that rook f1 could be a good defense. But okay, that's not an easy move. Because at the end of this, sorry, at the end, the rooks is going to be trapped on its 4. That the idea, but it's not easy to see, of course. Rook king g3 is good. Rook a1, rook e2, of course. Takes, bishop b7, takes. And here, when you have only one way to defend the game, which is so difficult, is king d2, only move. Okay, you can understand this move because, okay, black is threatening queen h4, so we just leave the check with king g2, but black is going to play queen h2 at the same way. But now the huge point of the king g2 move is that now white have rook f8, king takes, and queen f3. Is free for repetition because the black pieces are so far from the black king. So that's the only way you have to make a draw. Instead of that, he means that the idea he take on d4 with 1 second in the clock. And now the rest is easy for Sindarov. He played queen h4, important. King f4. Now all the moves are winning here because white king is also exposed, but he played rook e1 is the most accurate. Queen g2 and now check and check, taking the rook, the game and the World Cup. So congratulations to Sindarov for winning the World Cup. I hope that he is going to make a very good candidate tournament, and let's see if he wins the tournament and be bouquets. I analyzed like more than 60 games in the channel, like 63 more or less of the World Cup. So let's see the games he didn't see in the past. Bye bye, motherfuckers.